Well, let's go back to what originally happened. There was a company called Enterprise Managed Services which took over the running of the council tips, and then the on-site tip shops, including the one in Daventry, were replaced by high street stores. And campaigners have been saying that a lot of the potentially saleable items are simply not making it to the shelves of these stores, so people can't go in and buy them. They're simply not getting there from the council tips. And these figures suggest that they're right. 5.7 tonnes of goods were resold in the shops in the financial year 2009 to 2010. Those were the shops actually at the tips. It was slightly less the year after, but in the first 10 months of this financial year, which takes us up to February, only 810 tonnes were resold in the shops. Now, of course, you have to allow for the fact that the financial year isn't over, but I've kind of extrapolated the figures given that, and I find that there's a drop of about 80% in the amount of goods that are now being sold that arrived at the tips and then got taken to these shops for sale to the public.
So why would the changes have had such an effect on the figures?
Well, to find that out, I've been speaking to Nikki Ellis, who had the contract for reuse at 3 of the council sites, but she's parted company with Enterprise Managed Services because she's unhappy with the way that they're dealing with it, and she runs a recycling shop in Rushden. She says that at the tips, she used to sort the stuff out when people brought it into the tip, and if necessary, she would then rescue items from the skips so that they could be resold if they were suitable. She says that simply isn't happening now.
My personal opinion is, because beforehand we were maintaining ourselves, it was in our interest. We had to recycle as much as we could, we had to get as much reuse as possible, because we needed the revenue to fund the running of that site. Now, the lads are direct pay workers. It doesn't matter to them so much, because they're still going to get paid at the end of the week. They're just your normal employee.
Surely that wouldn't reduce the figures by 80%. I mean, that's a staggering figure.
It's a huge figure, isn't it? There's also the issue of what stuff people like Nikki, in her old guise as a reuse agent, could actually sell. Now, some people like going to these tip shops and collecting things that have a few bits missing so that they can then take them home and fix them up. Some people spend hours doing that, but it appears you can't do that anymore.
I feel life was sometimes made a bit difficult with the goalposts being moved. For example, we would sell cycle frames on their own previously because people would like to restore bikes. Enterprise are saying that we couldn't take incomplete bicycles off the sites. They had to be complete. They didn't class those as a reusable item. The same as with petrol lawnmowers, if they were missing a handle or a basket. Again, we had people that used to enjoy refurbishing them, but Enterprise would say, no, it's incomplete, it's got to go into our metal bin.
Now, I know a fair few tip rummagers, Martin. Any other issues with the way the sites are being run?
Yes, I've been known to do a bit of tip rummaging
I
myself,
had you down as one.
My secret is out. Another issue that Nikki raises is qualifications, because you can have, and indeed should have, an NVQ in waste management, a qualification for running or working at a council tip. And Nikki spent a lot of money getting herself qualified and getting her staff qualified, but she's concerned that that may not be the case now that Enterprise have taken over.
Previously, out of the 10 sites, 9 of them would have had at least one level 4 COTC holder on site.
Which is pretty much the highest level you can get.
Yeah, it is, and now you have to, every 2 years, take a continuing competence exam to make sure that you keep up with everything that's going on within the waste industry. It is a requirement that these sites are covered by level 4 for so many hours per week. I'm not quite sure how many level 4s are covering those sites now, but I suspect that it's not as many as we had before.
So have we heard from Enterprise yet?
No, I'm waiting for a comment back from them. I've told them all about these various concerns that have been raised. I haven't yet had a comment back from them. But it's also worth saying that there is a bit of a caveat with the figures, because in the early years when they put these figures together, they did it on the basis of they took occasional weeks, measured the goods in those weeks, and then extrapolated the figure out for the whole year. So it isn't necessarily an annual figure, it's based on a few specimen weeks, if you like. But whichever way you look at it, it certainly shows a major dramatic drop in the amount of stuff that's going to the household waste sites and then being resold. And of course, every council wants to make sure that it's recycling as much as possible, and this is causing a problem.
OK, Martin, thank you very much indeed. If you have a comment to make on that, 234455 is our number.
North End Travel, every 15 minutes. BBC Radio Northampton.